Hey HappiCrew, HappiDaze here. In today's video, we are doing the last 2 days of Grand Party, showing you kind of how we went through with the season without the int G5 leader. Originally, I was going to do all 5 days, with the first 3 days using the int G5 captain. I still have those videos. I might just still throw them out there just so you can see the general strategy. But the first 3 days are really not that difficult. You have unlimited retries, so it doesn't really matter kind of what teams you face there. So I thought it'd just be more interesting to just do the last 2 days. We are going to be using the Shanks leader for both days. As you'll see, there were some super close matches, and that's why the G5 is just so overpowered when he has 2 bursts. It just makes it so much easier. So let's get into the matches today. We'll see if I can get out of 15 out of 15 wins for Grand Party, get the max rewards there. And yeah, we'll kind of talk through the strategy for each of the matches, what my mindset was going into them, and hopefully you guys learned something going out of those videos. So let's get into the first fight starting right now. So for the first fight, we're going to go on and take on first fight of day number 4, trying to go up to 10 wins. As you can see here, obviously if we can not face burst captains in the last 2 days, we want to do this. Shout out to Mr. Curves over here, another TRS member who's absolutely awesome. We love our TRS members. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Like I said, when you're done matches for the day, just make sure you set your captain to a non-burst captain. Help everyone get those 15 out of 15 wins. And you can see that it just makes the teams, you know, much less scary. So in this case, my main teams that I'm kind of going with are the Slasher team. So I've kind of jiggered my teams a little bit from what you typically see. So I like to usually run a Slasher, a Strength, and a Int team. And usually S-Hawk was on that int team with the Luffy and the Blackbeard. But in this case, I want to switch up a little bit just because we have Ace as the, Shanks as the captain there. So that's kind of what we did. So this Slasher team is pretty awesome. They do get cooldowns for the season, which you love to see. Luckily for us, this Strength team here wasn't kind of one of the crazy teams. Obviously, you have Kuma who can just do a bunch of damage and force out, depending on what the limit break level is. But it's not really too scary there. So I figured with the cooldown reduction that the Slashers had, they'd be able to go first, get the attacks off, and you can see that happen. Now, if you have that Buggy unit, that can totally change things, right? Because he gives a huge debuff to Slashers. And you'll see when I use him on my teams, and my Strength team, like, he can really nerf the Slasher team, let your guys go first and absolutely kind of go through them. Because we can see the second team was the Dex team, obviously we're going to have our Strength team go against the Dex team. The Dex team gets a similar cooldown removal as Slashers from Buggy. So that's why this Buggy is so awesome. I know a lot of people will use the Christmas Uta in that spot instead, and use someone like the waifu instead of Jack to do the confusion. But I just really like this team. And the fact that on that first match we were able to get 3 specials off means right off the bat we can get an awesome amount of cooldown reduction. This team has just insane cooldown reduction, right? Buggy will end up doing some delay, helping with cooldown, so does Kobe. And then Jack just does an HP cut, and then Luffy comes in, fully rainbowed, absolutely demolishes people. I have my Kuma up to level limit 4, so you can see, like, he just destroys people, especially if it's Dex, the team just melts. So this first match of the day, luckily, was a pretty easy one out of the 6 that you'll see. This is definitely one of the easier ones that you'll see. It's when you get to the burst captains where you kind of have to start worrying and really get into strategy. So just enjoy this fight for what it is. You'll see some Oonga Boonga damage from a bunch of these guys, and basically once Luffy goes, that's it. That's GG's. Yeah, that HP cut is so awesome, and that CC speed increase is just absolutely awesome from Buggy there. So there we go, Luffy just doing casual 10 to 15k hits, and just absolutely destroys everyone. So that's going to wrap it up for that first match. Like I said, gets us that first win of day number 4, which is great. You love to see that. Numbers captain just makes it so much easier. So that being said, let's get our rewards and hop into the next match for match number 2 of day 4. So for the second match of day 4, our opponent is going to be, again, no real scary units here, even though the Yamato and Luffy there does have a burst that does a little bit of damage. Like, all the others aren't scary here. Again, you can only see certain teams now. You can see I couldn't see the team in the second slot anymore. So you want to make sure that when you're doing these battles, like, you're doing as much type advantage as you can. Of course, in this case, it's a Dex team up front, so we're going to have our Strength team go out again. Again, Buggy just comes in so clutch here for the season because everyone's running Slashers, and a lot of people are running Dex because of the Dex Kaido. So a lot of people are making, for example, Dex and Quick teams. So it just, you know, the chance of getting a Dex team has been super high this season, which is awesome because this team will absolutely melt those Dex teams. again, once basically Kuma and Luffy goes, it's all over. There's really nothing else that can happen. And it's good game from that point on. So Kuma's going to come in, knock out 2 units there. Love to see that. Unfortunately, there's not a full amount of people on the field, so the attacks from the Luffy there didn't manage to kill a bunch of people. But you can see on the back bench, there's no one really scary here. Even if Pell goes off, it's not that bad. You can do a little bit of a shot. Now, ideally, what you want to do is have your Jack go off before everyone else, because you do the 50% HP cut. And then once Luffy and Kuma go, like, it's completely over at that point. But sometimes it just doesn't work that way, like it did in this case, where both Kuma and Luffy went before Jack was able to go. But it is what it is. That's how the CT speed on this team is just so insane. And yeah, if you're facing, like I said, Dex or a Slasher team, it just makes it that much crazier. So we're just going to wrap this first fight up pretty quick. Once Kuma goes, it should pretty much be game after that point. And then we can go ahead and see what the second team is. Again, we can't see what the second team is anymore once we get past that 10th win. So it makes it a lot more trickier, a lot more scarier. And that's why we're facing non-burst captains, because it just makes it a little bit more, greater chance of getting the max reward for the season. You don't want to, only get 14 wins and lose out on 20 gems there. So that's why we're doing it. So in this case, we are facing a quick team number 2. It's a pretty beefy quick team. I'm not gonna lie here. Obviously, with the Luffy there and with the Blue Jam and Tesoro with his fixed damage there, you gotta be a little bit careful. This is a team that kind of replaced my normal int team, which is really the powerhouse team, just because of some of the buffs for this season. Also, I pulled the Avalo Pizarro as well in the amazing Sigil banner that just came out for the Egghead anime return. So I want to test him out and see how he is. So I shamelessly stole this team from Stump. And unfortunately, I don't have Sanwan Wolf, so I put Luffy in that spot. He works perfect because he's an int unit who's pretty awesome. And he's also Powerhouse, who can help satisfy the conditions for Blackbeard there. So works out pretty well. You can see I'm kind of chugging along here. I thought originally we'd have some problems, but you can see once Kaido and King go, like, it's crazy. And they're not even, like, even fully level limit break, and they just do so much damage, which is awesome. And then they also have the super Power Rumble special if they take damage as well, for both the Kaido and King, as well as the Big Mom and Katakari there. So team worked out like fantastic. Really couldn't complain. And that will make a real easy way for us to defeat this non-burst captain and bring our total wins up for the day to 11 and get to the final match of day 4. Again, we're just collecting our rewards at the end here, and we'll go right to the match right now. This is where a lot of the fun really starts. Now, the first 2 matches of the day had been against non-burst captains. So for the final match, I figured, because I could see the first spot is a Dex team, and we know that we have our strength team out there who can destroy them, I figured, you know what, why not face this team and see what happens. Now, for some of these fights the last couple days, I'm really questioning how I did things and whether I would change them up a little bit. But like I said, because I knew the first fight here, I was able to get the type of advantage. I knew I'd be able to take them out pretty easily with my strength team. And then the only thing I have to really worry about is that the burst gauge for the side G5 leader, which is what the opponent has here, gets their burst gauge charged by doing damage. As long as I can get my team to not let them do much damage, then that means that they're not going to get their burst off. So even though they get 2 bursts, if they can't use them, then it doesn't really help them out, right? So that's kind of the game strategy here. Again, what that really means is we hope to get Jack to really go first, then have Luffy or Kuma go so we can just take everyone out and not have to worry about letting them get their gauge charged here. Now, of course, the downside is that we don't know what teams they have in their second or third slot, so it's a complete guess. But because this team can actually get one-shotted pretty easily if you have like an int G5 leader, even though they only have 1 burst for the season, you just want to make sure that you're facing this team versus a team that doesn't have the type disadvantage. If this team went up against, for example, a really buff quick team, there's a really good chance that they would lose. So that's why if I couldn't see that first team there, then I wouldn't worry about it. So I'm just skipping here just because I want to just get through the match, because obviously, like I said, it's Dex versus quick. Our strength team is fully maxed out. We don't have to worry. But unfortunately for us, his burst gauge did charge a little bit, so of course that's something that we have to worry about. So we are having our Slasher team go second. This is against the quick team here. Again, pretty similar to the team that we saw in the in the previous win there. The only difference is, of course, now we're facing them with the burst versus not having a burst, right? So that's kind of the key difference there. So if we can get the Shanks unit to get his shield off, that's obviously preferable. Because we were able to get 3 specials off in the previous match, that means Shanks were going to go right off the bat, which is great. Boom, 20% cooldown reduction for all our units, which is absolutely fantastic. And as long as we use 3 more specials, which the Zoro Sanji will help all the specials kind of trigger, if they haven't already, then it makes it pretty easy for us to kind of hopefully get through this without too much trouble there. So we're going to obviously have the Roger and the Whitebeard go next. They're going to take out usually 2 units themselves, which is awesome, as well as that HP cut. Boom, and at that point, there's really nothing to kind of worry about. Should be pretty easy. So when you're facing side leaders like that, when you don't have the full int burst, that's the strategy, is that you want to make sure that in that first fight that you're fighting them, you have a type advantage team or a team that you know will not let them do any damage. So that way you can pretty easily win and wrap that up. So, yeah, at this point, there's really nothing that they can do to win. Obviously, it's just us kind of killing them from here. So we like that. Day number 4 was pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and you like being able to fight, you know, non-burst captains when you can. So you can see the difference between the previous match and this one. When you have a non-burst captain versus burst captain, even though he didn't use his burst, it's still pretty significant. So if you can, obviously you want to face the non-burst captains. And as I mentioned, this is the end of the day 4 matches. Make sure when you're done your matches today, you go ahead and set your leader to a non-burst captain, so that way everyone can benefit from the easier matches there. So that being said, let's get into the last 3 matches with the day 5 matches. See if we can wrap up with a perfect record here. For win number 13, we're gonna go ahead and take on another burst captain here, just to kind of show you guys, you know, how we have to take on these guys. In this case, I feel pretty confident. Again, we know their first team is a Dex team, so pretty confident that we can go ahead and get in there and hopefully, you know, do enough damage where they can't build up their charge meter, and kind of go from there. Now they do have the Luffy on the back bench, which is of course a little bit scary. Obviously that ace in the front line is a little bit scary too. Pell can do some damage depending on what level limit break he is, but ultimately, like, our strength team just debuffs them so much with that buggy, that it makes it much easier for us to have our units go before they really go and kind of prevent that charge gauge from being built. So you can see Jack already goes, does the huge HP cut. It looks like Kobe is just going to miss out. Unfortunately, he would have gave the CT reduction to everyone else and then sped everyone up, but that didn't happen. So it kind of is what it is. Like I said, because of the delay, they still haven't got their specials off. This is the first real special that they've gotten off. So yeah, we'll take a little bit of damage there, but you can see, even though we take a shot there, it's not the end of the world. Kuma comes in, just takes out a bunch of units. Again, we're going to have some of the back bench come in, and then Luffy's just going to help just kind of wipe out pretty much anyone who comes in from the back bench, which is good because that Don Chinzhao can be a pain if he gets his confusion off. So yeah, we just have to wait a little bit for the rest of these specials to go off. Jackson give another 50% HP cut, which is kind of crazy that he can do 2 specials within that first 30 seconds to get that HP cut. Yamato's going to give us a little bit of a shot here, but like I said, because we have the type advantage, it's not the end of the world. But what this does mean is that, you know, because we took a couple of shots, they'll most likely be able to get a burst off in that second fight, which is kind of a little bit scary. But like I said, we'll see, you know, if we're able to kind of still pull off the win on that second fight without having to do too much worrying there. So there we go. Fight number 1 is complete. And let's go ahead and see what waits us on fight number 2. Again, we can't see what teams are in the second or third slot, but we know that most likely it's a side team in that third slot. All right, so the team over here is, of course, another quick team. Smoothie can do some special reverse there, which is a pain. Akainu obviously does the HP cut. That's my biggest concern, probably. You can see he gets a 20 CT reduction, which means he's probably going to go, and as soon as he goes, they're going to have their burst to go. So that worries me substantially, and I didn't notice it when I was first going through, but now obviously looking at the video after, I probably shouldn't have wasted my special charge there, just because, like I said, once he goes, does that 30% HP cut, then we're going to take the burst right off the bat, right, which is just a pain. And without having that Shank shield on, you can see I just lost 3 units right there, right? So that's pretty much GG's at that point, unfortunately for us. Now, the good news for us is we're going to be able to get our Zoro Sanji and the Roger and Whitebeard to go. Now, they're not going to obviously win the battle for us, but they at least get that burst gauge charge so that we should be able to hopefully be able to use it in the next match, right? Because the next match is a have-to-win match. Now, luckily, we got the burst gauge charge there. I stupidly here figured, hey, I could do my burst and maybe get lucky and take out the rest of their units. But you can see the problem here is that the back bench of this team is really meant to take out slasher units, right? And you can see he's like super close. So at this point, I actually thought that I could get the victory off, but unfortunately, it was just a little bit too little, too late. And you can see that there's really not much I can do. I just lost the last 2 units there, and at that point, it's game over. I should have just, like I said, saved my burst I used before. That way, going into the 3rd match, I could have had a burst ready. At this point, I don't think Brook is able to actually go off before everyone dies, which means that the burst gauge isn't charged. Let's see, does he hang on just enough? Nope. Yeah, so I'm still 1 special short of charging that burst gauge. So obviously this puts us in a risky position right now. The good news is we have that powerhouse team going last, so we do have a good bit of CT reduction there. The problem, though, and this is where I wish I had the int G5 leader for this season, is that this is a pretty intense strength team, right? Obviously, you have the Otama who gives a CT reduction. You have Kobe who can boost people, gives CT reduction. Jack with the HP cut. They have Sanji on the back bench to kind of activate the additional features of the Kobe there. And, of course, they have the Gear 5 Luffy, right, which is just insanely scary. So, and we do have, obviously, Pizarro on this team is a Dex unit. So if Luffy goes, he's probably going to wipe him out. So it's kind of like hoping that we're able to kind of, do as much as we can. We were able to, luckily, in our case, get the Blackbeard to go first. So he gives a little bit of CT reduction. And because we were able to use that special then, we got 20% CT reduction of our own. And what really helped was the Pizarro being able to special bind a bunch of those units. That was, like, super key. Also, the half defense that they got as well. And then this is why I love this Luffy so much. He just absolutely decimated anyone who was left. I probably should have waited here until the rest of their back bench came in. But I just didn't want to take chances with that Luffy. That Luffy is super scary when he hits. And if he hit this team, he probably would have done a ton of damage. Now, would he have killed us? Maybe, maybe not. But I didn't want to take that chance, right? Because it's going for, the max rewards there. So this match was a lot closer than I would have liked it to be. And Kuma can still cause some damage here as well. So even though it looks like we're good, you always have to be careful there. But you can see why some of these units are just so crazy and the special amount of damage they can do. And boom. Even though it was really close and really scary, we were still able to pull off the win there against that Burst Captain. Get us up to 13 out of 15 wins. And let's go ahead and check out the second match of Day 5. So for the second match of Day 5, of course, if we get a chance... so all 3 are technically Burst Captains. And because I can't see who's in what spot... I just don't know what the play is here, right? This is why we say at the end of the day, please set your captains to non-burst captains so that people don't have to go through these tough scenarios and just kind of hope and pray for RNG, right? So in this case, we had no idea what the first team was, but we see that it is the strength team here. Now, the charge gauge for their burst captain Zoro gets charged when I believe it's 7 specials that get executed on their side, and he ends up doing... a chunk of damage through defense to 3 of the enemies on our side. I think it's 2.5 if I remember correctly. So obviously that's a pretty big shot. So we want to try to make sure they can't use their specials, so they can't charge it as quick. But that's going to be a nasty shot that we'll have to take from that Zoro unit if it comes down to that, right? So like I said, that's why this team, luckily, they did have a buggy on this team. So I was actually kind of shocked that our slashers were still able to get off before a lot of their units got off, right? You can see our CT was 6, when typically it would probably be like in the 10 to 14 range for slashers, right? But because that buggy is there, he just absolutely nerfs. And this is why that G5 Luffy is so scary. You can see he just did an absolute monster shot to us. So here the game plan was, all right, so I have a burst ready. I need S-Hawk to really go so he can kind of take out 3 units and hopefully hopefully go as quick as he can. I thought maybe I'd be able to get his burst gauge charged before he went next, and luckily for me, it looks like it was just enough. So this is where the downside of this team, of the strength team, is that it's a glass cannon team, right? So if you can get some units to go that can do damage through defense or burst, like you can take them all out in one shot, and that's kind of the downfall of this team. And that's why we were able to successfully kind of get the first win there. Now they did use some of their specials, so their burst gauge is charged, which means in that second fight, we're going to take a burst, unfortunately. And again, we don't know what teams are using. We're just praying that there's not a quick team in the second slot to take our strength team. But I assumed it was a free spirit team just because typically you don't see that Zoro on free spirit teams. And you can see that that was the case. Now, luckily for us, we have Buggy who debuffs the slashers there, right? So the Roger Bon and the Zoro are both getting their CT reduction, which is great. We don't really get much benefit against the other units there. Obviously, the Nami Karina is super scary because they can do the special rewind. And if they get one or two of their units to go, they could easily wipe out this whole front line, right? So that's kind of the worry that I'm having here. Luckily for us, Otama healing really doesn't do much for us. And what ended up kind of helping a little bit is I think because they didn't go, the Luffy and the Kuma didn't go before the Jack, we're able to just do a bunch of damage. So luckily for us, Kobe's going to go. He's going to boost everyone to the front, or most people to the front, and give CT reduction. And this is where we take that burst. Yeah, so it was 2.5 through defense to 3 units. So, yeah, luckily we had type advantage there because of the burst captain, so it didn't hurt as much. But still, you can see, that was pretty crazy. I just want to win this match because I'm kind of worried about what that third match might be. So use the Shanks special there, gave more CT increase, and it killed one of the revives for the Luffy. But as you can see, all of them are ready to go, which is super scary, right? Because my team's pretty low on HP here. So of course that's worrying. Now if we can get Kobe to go off when he's below 50% HP, we actually get a shield. But I wasn't really worried because as soon as Luffy goes, I know that everyone's gone just because he's just insane with what he can actually do. And you can see he just pretty much wiped everyone out himself. At that point, it's GG's. And that will kind of help us be able to get through that match, get us to the second win of the day, and put us in a pretty comfortable spot. So now at this point, like I said, we're just really waiting for the Kuma unit to go. Once Kuma goes, that will pretty much be the end of this match. It's almost over. Otama's just hanging out there, and boom, just like that, we're able to, I forgot Zoro had a 50% revive there, but we have a special ready. We're going to go ahead and use it there, and it's going to just wipe out that last unit there. Thank you. So yeah, that was a pretty scary burst captain. Definitely didn't want to have to face any of those, but you can't do a refresh on the last day, so sometimes you got to take what you get. So that will bring us up to 14 wins. Love to see that. And let's go ahead and get into the last match of the day and see if we can hopefully wrap this season up, get 15 out of 15, and get the max rewards. For the final match of this Grand Party season, we're going to go ahead and take on a non-burst captain. So, of course, we could take on either of the top 2 teams. But shout out to a fellow TRS member here, helping get that 15 wins. As I mentioned, when you're done, change your leader for the day. We'll show you what that looks like at the very end of the match. But to help everyone out, it's just so much easier to be able to get victories. We don't have to worry. And we knew because Pell was the leader that Dex is going to be on the front line. So that means that we could throw our strength team out there. Again, no real worries here. Buggy does a pretty significant debuff against the Dex characters. And then Luffy and Kuma just going to get tank. Jack give the HP cut. And this will be a pretty easy victory here. I'm not anticipating too much difficulty in terms of getting through this battle. And then it's just a matter of whatever teams are in the second or third slot. But like I mentioned, we'll have a Shank special ready to go, which will just help give us that CT increase, a little bit of damage, and we'll be off to the races from that point. So Luffy should go right here and pretty much wipe out this whole front line. Love to see it. Yeah, this Luffy is just insane, man. Once you get him up to level in break 5, he just destroys. And yeah, we'll probably take maybe a shot from Sanji or Gekko Moria there, but probably not. We'll probably be able to just have our Kuma go. Okay, we did take a shot, but like I said, it's not the end of the world here. And then, boom, we're able to go ahead and get Kuma to go. He'll take out everyone. Pell doesn't have any kind of GP burst, so we don't have to worry about even taking a 500 damage burst there, so that's why you love to see that. And boom, just a really simple victory for that. Going into match number 2 here, we have our slashers going up against their strength team. As I mentioned, the good news here is they don't have Kobe on this team. They don't have Buggy. They don't have Uta. So there's really no kind of real worry here. Obviously, Kuma and Luffy can still hit hard, but the fact that we're able to get that 20% CT speed right off the bat, which you'd love to see, some additional defense for some of our members there, it just makes it so that we can have S-Hawk go, and then once S-Hawk goes against the strength team, he's pretty much guaranteed to take out 3 units himself. And then if he can't, then we still have the barrier ability from the Shanks there, worst case, and then we also have the Roger and Whitebeard who will do their massive HP cut and then a hit through defense. So, yeah, not worried about this team at all. A much less stressful final match for the day to wrap up this Grand Party season. Just a reminder that, you know, hopefully starting next GP season, we'll have the Int Luffy back with his normal bursts. Like I said, he's still, in my opinion, the best Grand Party leader, and he just, you know, absolutely dominates for Grand Party. So happy to have him back, hopefully up to full strength for next season. It just makes wins much more guaranteed. We don't have to worry about RNG. But even with just having one burst, he was actually still pretty crazy this season. So there you go. As you see here, got the 20 gems, got the title. Switching my team out to a non-burst team, so that way people who come and face my team after this will have a really simple team to go ahead and go get their hopefully 15th win and get everyone to get the max rewards with the community strategy. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you like these videos. As I said, when you're approaching these PvP matches, it's really a game of cat and mouse, especially if you have burst leaders, in terms of, you know, if you're facing a leader like Luffy, you want to make sure, or the Psy Luffy, you want to make sure that you're able to kind of get your damage off before they get their off, so you kind of have to modify your teams on the front line to handle that. If you're facing other burst captains, then you have to change your strategy a little bit as well, right? As you saw on the Zoro fight, sometimes you have to switch things up and know what the burst ability of the burst leader that you're facing is. That way you can kind of game plan around that. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know how your Grand Party season went. Were you able to get 15 out of 15, get the max rewards? And let me know what you thought just generally of the season with the buffs, debuffs. I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Until next time, as always, be kind to each other. Thanks.